Today we listen to the first story of Vikram and Betal titled, Who is the Sinner? King Vikramaditya lifted Betal on his shoulder and started moving towards the crematorium. Betal said, King, the road is long. To make it interesting, let me tell you a story. Remember, if you answer my story, I will go back to the tree. And if you remain silent even after knowing the correct answer, your head will explode. Betal started narrating the story. Once upon a time, Kashi was ruled by a mighty king named Pratapmukut. His son Vairamukut went out on a hunt with his friend the Daiwan's son. While hunting, he saw a beautiful pond, where blooming lotuses and flying swans made the atmosphere wonderful. Both the friends washed their hands and faces with the water of the pond and went to the nearby Shiva temple for worship. Tying their horses outside, they started having darshan of Lord Shiva in the temple. When he returned after visiting, he saw that a princess was bathing with her friends in the pond. As soon as Prince Vairamukut saw the princess, he was mesmerized. The princess also looked at the prince and their eyes fixed on each other. The princess took out a lotus flower from her hair, put it to her ear, bit it with her teeth, then pressed it under her feet, and finally hugged it to her chest and went away from there. The prince became sad after seeing all this. He told his condition to the Daiwan's son. The prince said, I cannot live without that princess. But I neither know her name nor where she lives. How can I find her? The Daiwan's son said smilingly, Prince, don't worry. The princess has introduced herself. The prince was surprised and asked, how? The Daiwan's son began to explain. The princess put the lotus flower to her ear, which means she is from the state of Karnataka. She gnawed the flower with her tooth, which means her father's name is Dantava. She pressed the flower with her feet, which means her name is Padmavati. And finally she hugged the flower to her chest, which means she has accepted you in her heart. The prince was very happy to hear this and said, Take me to Karnataka. After several days of travel, both of them reached Karnataka. There he found an elderly woman who was spinning a charkha. Both of them said politely, we are businessmen and have come from far away. We need a place to stay for a few days. The elderly woman kindly allowed them to stay in her house. During a conversation with the woman, Daiwan's son asked, how do you manage your living? The woman said, I was the servant of the king's daughter Padmavati. Now I have grown old, so I live at home. My son works in the palace and I sometimes go to meet the princess. Hearing this, the prince gave some money to the woman and said, Mother, when you meet the princess, tell her that the prince who was found at the pond has now come here. When the woman reached the princess and gave this message, the princess became angry. He applied sandalwood and slapped the woman on her cheek and said, Go away from here. When the woman told this to the prince, he became worried. The Daiwan's son, the princess has indicated that she will come to meet you after some time. Be patient. Then the woman messaged again. This time the princess dipped her fingers in saffron color and slapped the woman. The Daiwan's son interpreted this to mean that the princess was ill and asked to stay for a few days. Finally, after giving the message to the lady for the third time, the princess gestured that she might come and meet her at the west window. Hearing this, the prince entered the palace wearing woman's clothes. The princess was ready to meet the prince. The prince and princess spent some time together. But after a few days, the prince remembered his friend. The princess sent food for the prince's friend. The Daiwan's son said, the princess must have mixed poison in this food. He fed a piece of food to the dog and the dog died. The Daiwan's son said to the prince, now we have to do something so that we can take her with us. You go at night and make the mark of a trident on her thigh and bring her jewels. Prince did exactly the same. They are caught trying to sell the jewels, but the Daiwan's son cunningly convinces the king that it was all the result of a yogi's meditation. When the king got the princess examined, he found a trident mark on her thigh. The king sent the princess into the forest without doing a thorough investigation. The prince and the Daiwan's son were already waiting in the forest. He took the princess with him from there and started living happily. Betal asked, King, who is the biggest sinner in this whole story? King Vikram replied, the king is the greatest sinner. He sent the princess to the forest without investigating the truth. The Daiwan's son showed loyalty to his friend, and the prince stepped in for his beloved. But the king's justice was blind. Hearing this, Betal praised Vikram and returned to the tree again. So friends, from this story we learnt that it is important to know the whole truth while judging. Decisions taken without consideration can often prove wrong.